Welcome, everybody, to the Steph and Hayli Show. This is a podcast that I do with my friend FemSteph, who is right over here. My name's Hayli Nick. You can call me Hayli. And we just use this to talk about our life, about adulting, about parenting, about books, whatever kind of floats our boat for the day. One of my resolutions for 2022 is to try and be more consistent about this if we can manage it. But yeah, we usually try and have a game plan of what we're going to talk about, and it typically devolves into talking about whatever it is that life takes us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I figure starting off with a life update is probably pretty necessary given how long it's been since our last episode. So I'm gonna let you start, Steph. Tell us about what's new for you. How's life been?
I mean, honestly, not much is new right now. I mean, like other than Cohen's like development, we're just same old with COVID. We're kind of in lockdown again since Omicron is like everywhere. Everyone's getting sick. I don't know. I think I know more people that got COVID this winter than didn't, which is so crazy. We had a little bit of a exposure scare because my niece goes to daycare and her daycare reported that a couple kids got it, and then we didn't know or they weren't aware or whatever, so we went over to my brother's house because my niece just turned 3 and we did like a little family birthday celebration. And then literally the next morning my sister-in-law texted me and was like, oh my god, Ivy's daycare has COVID, like da da da. It's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm really starting to experience COVID. Like I've always taken, for me personally, COVID's always been like a big deal. Like I know it's more of a big deal for some, it's less of a big deal for others, but it's always been like really taxing on me mentally. And this season with the winter and everyone getting sick, and then even like non-COVID stuff, I feel like colds and flus are just like way more severe this year for some reason. Like I had a sinus infection that put me on my ass for like a week and a half straight. It's just been kind of nuts. So, you know, it's just been really stressful, and I'm really experiencing COVID fatigue right now, especially with Cohen becoming a toddler. Toddlers are so very different than babies because they need constant interaction, stimulation, and activities and all this shit. And it's really hard to be consistent and like feel like you're doing a good job as a parent when you're stuck in the house playing with the same toys, doing the same thing every single day. And like I just want to be able to take my kids somewhere. And you know, the other downside about living in the Pacific Northwest during the winter is it is really rainy. So like I can't take them to like a park or do like outdoor activities. The things that I want to do is like I want to take him back to OMSI, and I want to take him back to like, you know, other stuff that he can be around other children and experience and explore. And I feel really stuck right now. So that's the hard part.
Yeah, and it's tough too, just because like none of it's your fault. Obviously, there's only so much that we can do right now to walk the line of being responsible and being safe, but also still like trying to stimulate our children and do what we have to do. And that's kind of like what we're dealing with right now. So if you guys didn't know, I was talking about this before I called you. I have COVID right now. Technically, I'm not sick, but I am carrying the virus. Like I tested positive. And so it's just Rick, Hazel, and Hunt downstairs. Like it's them. No one can leave. Like Hazel's not in school. We literally, the only time that we've left the house was to like go on a very social distanced walk, and that was it. And so Rick is sitting there like, how am I supposed to entertain a toddler and a baby in this small space for 6 days?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you survive. Like you do what you have to do. Like you turn the TV on, you let Hazel watch whatever she feels like watching. And he was telling me, he's like, I feel bad because like I don't want her to just be watching TV. I'm like, I understand, but this isn't normal times. Like this isn't okay, you're just hanging out with Hazel and you're letting her do whatever. It's like you don't have me as a resource. You are 1v2 right now, and you don't have any way of getting out to take her to do things, to interact with her. You are stuck at home. So you have to do right now what you have to do.
Yeah.
And obviously it'd be different if I were down there, but because I'm not, like, you know, you're even more locked down than we would have been otherwise. So like the reason I talk about that is just because like you can't let yourself feel guilty when it's completely out of your control like this, because you're doing what's best for your family. You're being responsible. Like it's more important for your kid to be bored
Yeah.
for them to get really sick.
Yeah. I mean, I like logically I understand like I am confident in the decisions I'm making as far as like keeping Co safe and everything, but then
Still feels like shit.
yeah, it's hard not to. It's just I don't know. I'm just really struggling with the like balancing the risks with the rewards, right? Like we threw Co a birthday party and it was so great, but like not even that. I don't know where we're going with this, but like we're social in December. We decided like, you know, the holidays, we want to see family, we want to see friends, and Cohen ended up getting so sick back to back, and it was so fucking heartbreaking seeing him like shrink down to like half his size because he just, you know, was so sick and he was vomiting a lot and all this stuff. It's just like hard for me then to like feel confidence putting him in other situations where like the it's like again the potential for that to even happen again. And COVID's just is the thing with COVID. It's just like it's so the thing that makes it like so hard, right? Is for a lot of people, especially those who are vaccinated, the symptoms with Omicron are so mild. So it's like, well, like why am I really risking all this like isolation and stuff like that when it wouldn't be that bad, right? But then there are people who it comes down and it's just absolutely horrible, and like the long COVID symptoms are horrendous and all this stuff. So it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it just
but
feels
I think a lot of the stuff that you're talking about really is with the unvaccinated. Like the perfect example that comes to mind is my mom. Like my mom is, for those of you guys who don't know, completely unvaccinated. She thinks the whole thing is a scam. She thinks the whole thing is fake. And sure enough, she caught it, and she caught Delta. It was not Omicron that she caught, and she was in the hospital for over a week, and it nearly killed her. Like she was that sick. She got to the ER, her O2 levels, like they thought they were going to have to put her in the ICU immediately. And, you know, thankfully that didn't end up having to happen. And she was discharged with oxygen, but to this day, so that was back in November, it was over Thanksgiving. You know, I still check in with her. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And she still has long COVID symptoms. Like she still has no taste or smell. She still has trouble breathing sometimes. Like she's still very tired all the time. She has no memory of it. She has no memory being like in the hospital. Like myself, my sister, and my niece, we all FaceTimed her together. She doesn't remember any of that.
Oh no, that's crazy.
Well, and keep in mind, my mom is also 73 this month, so she's older. But on top of being unvaccinated, like I don't know what she expected. And so that in that case, like it's no surprise that she ended up in that situation. But I think for people who are vaccinated and who are younger, like us, I don't think we have nearly as much to fear. And there's not to say that there are people like us who do end up getting sick, because there very clearly are.
But I don't think my fears. I don't think my fears are ever really pointed in my or Brennan's direction. It's about Cohen, right?
For sure.
Like, how do you as a parent weigh the possibility that he could have like lung damage or difficulty breathing for like the rest of his life, or for the foreseeable future, or for 2 years or 1 year or 6 months? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, you never know.
I get it.
And then like, you know, a lot of, again, COVID's so weird because it's like, if it was like the flu where like everyone gets fevers and everyone gets the chills and everyone gets body, you know what I mean? And you knew what to expect, but you just don't. You don't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. It's so horrendous for some people, and it's asymptomatic for some people. Like that shit doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't.
It may as well be asymptomatic for me.
Like but it's, you know what I mean? That's how do you how do you continue living your life with something like that, where it's just like, you know, Cohen could get it and not even sneeze once, or he could get it and be hospitalized. Like that's just, the spectrum is so huge. It's just really hard to grapple with. So,
well, and also I think something to consider is, and obviously not for Cohen because he's unvaccinated, same with Hazel, right? But I think, and because Rick and I were talking about this earlier, which is why I bring it up, I'm wondering if there's a direct correlation to like how you reacted to the vaccine as far as how your body will handle it when you get the actual virus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I had no symptoms from the vaccine whatsoever. I had a sore arm and that was it for both of them. For all three of my shots, I didn't have any symptoms. And so now I have it. and I may as well be asymptomatic. But then there are other people like, Lexi, for instance, who was on account for like 2 days after she got vaccinated. And so would she in turn have a more difficult experience if she caught it? I'm wondering if there's a correlation there.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd be interested in, because I had no reaction either to either of my shots. And Brennan, he was okay for his first shot. He was really fucked up after his second shot. And then he was like, he was like under the weather for his booster. Like his arm was really sore and he got like kind of like lethargic and body achy, but he didn't get nearly as sick as he did with the second one. So
right. Yeah, I'd be curious. I should look that up, I think. And yeah, so in my chat right now, Struck V1 says my 9-month-old was hospitalized 2 weeks ago with COVID. Like, that's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
That is so scary.
And the thing about Omicron, they're saying, is because it's so contagious, right, that it's affecting kids. Like, there's more kids in the hospital due to COVID this strain.
Because there's more kids infected, of course.
So it's just...
I know. I totally get it. And then on top of that, I'm like... But it's because it is so contagious. That's why I'm shocked that nobody else in my family has it. Like, how am I the only one? Where did I even get it? I was convinced that I got it from Hazel.
Did you only test yourself once? Did you ever retest just to see?
I didn't have enough tests. I have the other one that from the package that you gave me, but I'm saving that for Wednesday to see if Hazel tests negative still, because if she's still negative by then I can send her back to school on Thursday. So I'm like, I mean, in theory, I could be negative by now, but
yeah.
If you guys don't know, tests are like borderline impossible to find right now.
It's like the toilet paper fiasco.
Yeah.
People are just buying. I think if people don't even need them, I think people are just like stockpiling COVID tests right now. And it's like impossible to get one scheduled through your doctor. It's so hard to find an at-home one at any of like the pharmacies or even online. Like I bought one from Walgreens, like literally at like 9:30 in the morning. I texted Haley and she was like, send me a link. And it was like an hour later and they were completely sold out. Like that's just insane.
Hazel, you need to stay over there. No, you cannot go in my room right now. Please go downstairs. So, hey, Rick, I need you to keep her downstairs. You need to go. Thank you, sweetheart. I think what just happened right there is like the hardest part.
Yeah.
Just because like,
she doesn't understand. Yeah.
She doesn't get it, And I mean, don't get me wrong. She understands a lot more than I think I really give her credit for. But when it comes down to it, like she was like, "Mommy, come do this with me." Like, "Mommy, I want to cuddle." "Mommy, will you read me a book?" Like she wants mommy and I want her. I'm like, "Oh my God, the fact that I have to like keep telling my kid to stay away from me is heartbreaking." Like it's really hard, but she's starting to understand. Like she's getting it now. She's totally confident in getting her COVID test now. She's like, "Oh, okay." At first, when we had to test her at the doctor, she like threw a fit. Rick had to hold her down. Like it was not pretty. But after that, she was like, "I want to do it again." Like, you're freaking psycho. Like, why do you want to do it again? Rapid tests can be inaccurate. You're right. But I also think it depends a lot on like your exposure, because then that's the hard part too, is there's so much that's unknown. Like people don't, it's like, okay, the CDC is changing their mind every 5 minutes on quarantine rules and how long you should stay home and if you should wear a mask and how long you should stay away from your family and when you can go out again. And it's like, the viral load, you can be exposed from 2 to 5 days, and with this variant it's different. And it's easy for people to just get confused and not really know what's going on. So the whole thing is a mess. And somebody actually, I was doing an Ask Me sticker on Instagram today, and someone asked, they were like, "When do you think this is going to end?"
That's my biggest question.
I'm like, I am so unqualified to answer that question. I have no idea. But no one knows, right? Apparently there's something called an endemic, which is when it's like fading out. And the CDC came out the other day and they were like, "We're not there yet." So I have no idea. It's exhausting.
I mean, I think the thing is, I think if when the pandemic first hit, and if everyone was like, we have 4 years until we're on the other side of this, and people were like mentally prepared to go into that, it would be different. But it's been like, it's like 1 month of this, and then it was like 6 months, and wait, we have a year of this, and all of a sudden it's 2 years later, and you're just like,
Still no word.
And like there's still no vaccines for our children, and like it's just like, how the fuck do you keep, I don't know, going, you know what I mean? It's just, it's tough. Like,
well, I remember when when it first started, because we had wanted to take Hazel to Disneyland that July. So like March 2020, we had tentatively planned, like, okay, we're still in Arizona, we want to take Hazel to Disney before we move because it's so easy to go. And then I remember thinking, I was like, Disney just closed. Like, think there's any chance it'll reopen by July so we can go for our birthday? And looking back on that, it's just funny because it's like, no. And part of the problem, I think, is that, like, had we look at Australia, right? Australia went full lockdown, like did not joke around, took it super seriously, and they had like 20 cases or something. It was nothing. And so they were able to go out and like go to concerts and relive their life. Whereas here and a lot of other places in the world, it was just like they were like kind of in it, kind of out. Like you could, some places were open, some places were fully locked down. And then like, oh, but you can come, but you have to wear a mask, but then you have to social, like, you know what I mean? There was no consistency. And so there was no like actual control over its spread. And now it's just out of control. Like I think at this point, everyone's kind of given up. They're like, well, fuck it. Like there's no end to the site. We can't just stay locked down for years and years. So they just, it feels like a lot of people have given up. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if give up's the right word, but I think a lot of people feel very defeated is more accurate. And so they're reacting and going through life with a defeatist mentality. And that's just, it's hard. It's really hard. You know, I don't know. I was not really like, my personality is like, I'm typically a homebody, but I really enjoy filling my cup and going out like every so often, like to, you know, do stuff. And the not having that has really like regressed me into being like a whole, like a complete homebody. And I just find it really hard to like be motivated to do stuff right now. Like my house is a disaster, and it's just very much in I feel I'm very much in survival mode, and it's like there's only, you can only go on so long in that mode before you just like lose your mind, you know?
Do you think you'll feel better once it's summertime?
I'll feel less trapped, right? Because we can do outdoorsy stuff. And that,
I mean, it's gorgeous out today. I'm looking out the window. It is so sunny and beautiful today.
And every single day that it's been sunny, me, Brennan, and Cohen go for a walk together. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing my best to make the effort, right? But it's just it's really tough. And like on top of all of that, chat, like I recently weaned off of medication that helped with my milk supply and breastfeeding as a whole, and that was so incredibly hard for me. Like I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently you can get like post-wean depression and anxiety and stuff like that. It really like fucks with your hormones when you wean off breastfeeding, because oxytocin is the main brain chemical that tells your body to release the milk from your glands. And when you stop breastfeeding, your oxytocin supply just basically plummets to nothing. And so I just was feeling like so horrible. I was like, I've never really struggled. I've had bouts of depression throughout my life, but I've never really struggled with anxiety before. And it was like soul crushing. Like
the worst.
I could not breathe. It felt like this giant ball was stuck in a vice in my chest, making it so hard for me to breathe, to think, to do anything for like a week straight. Like I could not muster the ability to do much more than sit on the couch and like read my Kindle. And it was really hard. And then like I'm starting to finally feel better about that. Oh my God, Haley, sidebar, like my boobs are so different than they were.
Are they?
Like, yeah, like I did and I didn't, right? It's your body, like the changes are so over time that it's hard to like look in the mirror. But when I stopped breastfeeding, they went from like giant balloon tits to like what they were before I got pregnant. And I'm like, this is why they look so crazy at my brother's wedding. And like all those pictures where like I see my tits, I'm like, why are they so humongous? And it's because they were full of milk, and now they're not. It's actually so nice to have my boobs back. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, how are you feeling now? Like anxiety wise, are you still
much better? I definitely feel like I'm balanced out a lot more than I was.
Yeah.
Right after. I mean, I still don't feel like 100%, but I would say like 90%, right? I feel so much better. I wake up, I have more energy. I like, was spent all day the other day like dancing around the kitchen with Cohen, and Brennan came in and was like, I'm so glad you're feeling so much better. Like I can tell it's just like a night and day difference from where you were like last week, so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. And I think the only reason that I didn't struggle with that was because I breastfed a lot longer, and it wasn't necessarily out of like necessity or anything. It was just because like, he's elected. It was good for her. I wasn't like, pumping is so much more work
Yeah.
that I would have quit a lot sooner had I been pumping.
Mm-hmm.
I hate pumping. Like I don't know how you did it.
I don't know how I did it either.
I pumped once, before I got the clear to feed him, and I was like, if I have to do this every day, I'm gonna be miserable. But because I did it so much longer, we were slowly weaning off of
Right.
full time to like a couple times to only at night to not at all, and so
Yeah.
the process was less abrupt that way.
I mean, I tried my best to make it not as abrupt. Like I went from like 3 pumps to 2 pumps to 1 pump to no pumps, but then even right now, like I pumped yesterday because like I'm not letting down, so my glands are like I have blocked milk ducts basically, and it's so tender and painful to touch that I have to I had to pump just for 5 minutes just to release some of that pressure.
Yeah.
Because it's so painful. Like it's so painful. And of course my 1-year-old loves to punch me in the tits every time I hold him. He's just like flailing, like knocking my titties around, and I'm just like, please stop. It's just so excruciating. So
literally the worst.
yeah.
What a guy.
He's so big now,
like the anxiety stuff is difficult. Like
it's really hard.
I've been dealing with it too. I don't know if I told you this, but I got prescribed medication for my anxiety.
You said you had an
a couple
appointment,
days
but I
ago.
didn't know that you had like results from it.
Yeah. So to rewind a little bit for some backstory, I've suffered from anxiety my whole life. Depression runs in my family. Every single woman on my mom's side of the family is on antidepressants. Like, and anxiety and depression run very, very close together. A lot of the same medication is prescribed for both of them. I've only had one issue with anxiety or with depression in my life, and it was a long time ago, and I haven't dealt with it since. But anxiety, whoo boy, like that is I have very baseline, so it's just there constantly. And so I had an issue a couple weeks ago where I had a night. So we have a baby monitor that can monitor my son's breathing, which is really cool. And so he wears this little band at night, and the camera will read the band, and it will like be able to tell what his breathing is and tell us like how many breaths per minute he's taking. It's a huge stress reliever when it comes to like the concern of SIDS. Generally speaking, because there's an alarm that goes off if your baby stops breathing. And I had a nightmare that alarm went off, and in the nightmare I like ran in and like, got him, and it was fine. But for 4 days after that nightmare, I had like peak, like nonstop anxiety. And it wasn't just like, oh, it's there, but I can do other things. It was like debilitating.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. I was like constantly looking at the baby monitor. And I told Rick that, and he was like, don't you think that's a little excessive? And I was like, yeah, I do actually, now that you mention it. So I called my doctor, and I couldn't get into my primary care physician. And so I contacted my OBGYN, and she diagnosed me with postpartum anxiety. She's like, yes, your husband's right. That's not normal. So I have a prescription waiting for me at my pharmacy for Lexapro. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. It's a very small dose.
That's what Brennan takes.
You're kidding.
It's probably the most, I think it's like the most
this.
common for like, not like, well,
my doctor said it's more anxiety focused
yes,
than depression, which is why she prescribed it.
But it's also an antidepressant. But yes,
it is.
It's used more commonly towards the anxiety spectrum of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's like if you kind of have like a constant like it's like a constant presence in your life, and not just like bouts of like panic attacks and stuff like that. It's just like meant to be used as like a steady thing, and it's life changing for Brennan. I remember we were driving on the freeway, and Brennan missed our exit. And I was like, Brennan, just like take the next. I was like, Brennan, take the next exit, and we'll like circle around. And he was like, Haley, like his face color, his like the tension in his like.
I remember you telling me this years ago,
he was like
right?
white knuckled on the steering wheel, and he's like, I can't turn off right now. I can't turn off right now. And I was like, what is happening right now? Just it's not that big of a deal. Like, just take the next exit, and we went like 12 exits down the road. Like, he couldn't, like, he was like,
oh no.
So, and I was like, where is this coming from? And it happened one other time. We were in our neighborhood. And I was like, hey, babe, can you pull off so I can grab the mail before we go back to our house? Like, just, and there was another car, the car in front of us in our neighborhood pulled off to the mailbox. And because they pulled off, he didn't know, like, he was just like, and he just couldn't get, I don't know. It was like, to me, as someone who doesn't experience that, like, I could not wrap my brain around it. I was like, I don't understand what's happening. Just pull off in front of them on the same curb. It's not that big of a deal. And he couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, this is not normal. Like, it's not a normal reaction. I really think we should talk to someone, because if this is a feeling you're experiencing regularly for very, like, to me, minor instances of like, like, what do I do? Then like, I that seems to be debilitating enough that you should talk to a doctor. And so he did. Right. And like, he's been on this medication for about 2-3 years now, maybe longer. I don't know. And he's like, I can still feel the moments where it would happen, but my anxiety never escalates to the point where I'm incapable of handling it now. So he can still feel like, oh, this is going to cause me anxiety, but he can like, it keeps it at bay enough where he can work through it mentally and then move forward himself. And I think that's been so huge for him. And it's like the minimum. It's like 5 milligrams a day or something, like super tiny, but it's enough to like help him curb it and deal with it on a daily basis. So
yeah. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing too, is I was getting anxiety about having anxiety medication, because I'm like, there's side effects. Of course there's side effects. Every medication has side effects. And so my fear is like, well, what if the side effects get out of control? Like, what if I just become numb? What if I just don't have a personality? What if this is this? And I'm like, is it really that bad? Is it really that bad that I really need to be medicated? You know, like those where your brain just starts thinking. And I was a televisit with my doctor, and I told her, I was like, is it ridiculous that I'm getting anxiety about taking anxiety medication? And she was like, no, this is very common. And part of me wonders, I'm like, maybe it's so constant in my life that I really don't know what it would be like to live without it. And it will take me trying medication to see what that's like, if it works for me. So I don't know. It's still in my pharmacy, because at first I couldn't bring myself to go pick it up, and now I have COVID, so I can't pick it up. But it's there. And I've heard so many incredible stories of people who have taken it. Even in my chat right now, like Rachel says she has it, like the same medication that I know it works for people. So it's more just like, I've never taken medication regularly before. So it's a step that I know will probably be good for me, but it makes me nervous to think about taking, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it can definitely be intimidating, but just know that you are in control. So if it makes you feel worse or you're uncomfortable with the side effects, you can stop taking it pretty easily, you know? It's not an end all be all. You're chained to this for the rest of your life. It's a tool to help you, you know, combat anxiety. And if that particular medication doesn't work for you, you can either find something else that does. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, a lot of people that I have had conversations with, and it doesn't even have to be anxiety medication, but just like any like mental, even like birth control, right? Anything that affects your mentality or your mental well-being, it's really hard to, one, it's admitting that you have a problem or that you have something going on, which can be really hard, right? Yeah. And then two, like feeling the need to like stick it out, like, oh, I have anxiety. This is supposed to make me feel better, even though I'm having all these crazy side effects. Like, if I just stick it out, it'll like fix itself and I'll be fine. When really you just need to advocate for yourself. And if you feel like the cons outweigh the pros, then you just get off of it. Or you talk to your physician to make sure that you find something that works better for you.
And she even asked me, she's like, what is it that causes you anxiety in your day-to-day life? And I told her, I'm like, generally speaking, it's the condition of my house. And I think about how I feel now. Like if I go downstairs and I see the house is chaos, I'm immediately wound up. I'm like, I can't live like this. I freak out. And especially the kitchen. If the kitchen's a mess, I will just sit there, I will drop everything, and I will deep clean the kitchen because I can't handle it. And back in college, Rick will attest to this. I had my own apartment. I lived alone. And I just didn't care. I was like, so gross. I was so gross in college. Like I didn't vacuum. I grew up never having to like do my own chores because I was a spoiled brat. And so I never learned how to take care of my stuff. And so it was gross. And Rick would come over and he'd be like, if you and I move in together, we cannot live like this. And so looking back on that version of me compared to this version of me, oh my God, it is a night and day situation. Like I'm nothing like that anymore. I would walk into my old apartment if I were me right now and lose my mind. And so I wonder if that's just like having kids, if it's just growing up, if it's my anxiety. And now that I have that, like it stresses me out more than it did when I was in college. Like that's just kind of the example of like how my brain has changed in those last, God, how long has it been? I don't know. I don't want to know how long it's been. 8 years. But I do wonder if the anxiety has anything to do with why I'm so like wired about the state of my house now.
Probably. I mean, I would imagine it's a trigger for your anxiety, you know? Because it's
Yeah.
not, anxiety is not just, oh my gosh, there's a mess. It's the overwhelming feeling of, I have so much on my plate. This is just another thing that I have to get done. When am I going to find the time? My toddler's screaming at me. My baby's hungry. And I have to like, you know, clean the countertops. And it's just, I guess for Brennan and I, like, with the whole breastfeeding thing and like what like Cohen being so sick and all this stuff, like I stopped caring. I put the house, I mean my house is not like dirty, but like there's shit like piled up
Messy.
on the yeah, it's really messy right now. Like I need to like go through and like organize stuff and put stuff away. But I was just like, I think we talked about this at one point. I was just like, you know what, I need to accept that I'm not in the place to like feel proactive and motivated enough to do that, and that's okay, because there'll be a time or a day coming up, because I'm very much like you in the sense that like once I hit my breaking point, I will just put everything aside and I will just go absolutely ham bone to bone and completely sparkling top to bottom do everything that I need to do. And I just I had a moment where I like I'm not kidding, I literally like looked in the mirrors and I was like, it's no one's hurt by this, right? There's nothing dangerous going on. Like my bonus room has turned into like a storage room for now, as I like put the messes into a place where I don't have to look at them all the time, but I will get around to it and it's not hurting anyone, and it's okay. It's okay to like have a chaos room for now, and I will get to it eventually, you know?
Yeah, and that's what Hunt's room was before he was born. Like you remember the nursery, how bad that was. It was just boxes.
Yeah.
Like that's all it was. And I wonder if you have this too. If you were to ask me right now what needs to be done around my house, I could fire off a list of everything that needs to be done without even thinking about it. And like I haven't actually sat there and thought about what needs to be done, but I know it, and it just sits there, just the wheels turning in my brain constantly until it's done. Do you have anything like that? Like if Brennan asked you, what do we need to do? Can you just fire it all off right now?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
But and it's funny you say that, because I feel like that's a different conversation. That's the whole male versus female dynamic in a household situation, where a lot of the house manager
that is definitely a different conversation.
You know, house manager roles fall onto the wives and mothers, and typically speaking, I'm not gonna stereotype it, but typically speaking, most mothers / wives have the capacity to do that, and most husbands / dads don't, at least not to the same extent. So I wonder
why that is, though. Is it just how we're raised? Is that why? Think so?
I think the expectation is, that we grew up seeing our moms do it, and we grew up knowing that no one was going to do it for us. So
yeah. I mean, and that's my thing too, is like, it's important to me. I struggled a lot with the way I was raised as far as cleaning goes. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, like I grew up not really having chores. Like I never had to make my bed. I didn't have to clean. Like my mom did all my laundry. It was very like, I just was never taught. I didn't know how to like mop or do my chore was like to unload the dishwasher. I knew how to do that. And so I'm very aware of that fact. And it's important to me that my kids don't grow up like that. Like even now, I did Hazel's laundry yesterday and she started to help me. So she'll see me doing it. And kids, if you guys don't know this, kids at this age, when they're like 2, 3, 4 years old, love to help. All they want to do is help. Mommy, can I help you? Mommy, can I do this? That's all they do. And so I would be doing laundry and Hazel would be like, Mommy, can I help you? Hell yeah, you can, girl. And so she would help me load everything into the washer, move things over from the washer to the dryer. But because I have COVID, obviously she's not up here. I'm doing it myself. So what I did instead was I washed and folded all her laundry and I put it, instead of putting it away, I put it all in front of the places it needed to go. And so I told Rick, I'm like, when you guys come up for bedtime, bring her up to her room and have her put her clothes away. You can show her where they go. And she did it. Like these are habits that if you instill them at this age, they will continue to grow and not become chores, but just things that you do, like habits truly, as they grow up. And so like it's important I'm going to have Hunt learn that 100%.
Yeah.
Because like it shouldn't just be the woman's job to do that. Like I want my kids to grow up seeing both Rick and I contributing, and and Hazel knows like Rick does the dishes, that's his job. He takes out the trash. Like we definitely contribute in our own ways, but like I want Hazel to start helping with dishes after dinner now. She'll help me cook, but I also want her to help with dishes. And once Hunt's old enough, like it'll be the same thing for him. Because it's easy for us as moms to get wrapped into like, there's so much to do, I'm just going to do it, versus having your kid help you and slow it down. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's stressful in that front, but it's worth it to let them be involved because it teaches them the skills and it's a good way for you guys to bond.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was always our outlook on it too. I mean, I grew up hands in the sink, washing dishes with my mom. I like full stop did my own laundry from like 10, 11 years old or something like that. Like, which is ironic because my mom is such a clean freak and a cleaner, and she was very not strict, but she was very like instilled that in me at a young age, like knowing how to do everything. And I still have the capacity to become a super messy person. So again,
and that's fine too. I think it's different if you're like what's one thing being a messy person, it's another thing being like a dirty person.
Yeah.
Where you don't vacuum and you don't mop and you don't like clean dirt off the countertops. Like those are dirty things in my opinion. Messy is like there's laundry overflowing, your bed's not made, like there's stuff that needs to be put away that's left out, and that's just part of having kids. Like that's not something that's really going to change. I don't think until, at least for me, until my kids are a bit older.
Right.
But it's a process. Like it's a process to have to like get used to living with my house in that state and accepting that it's okay for things to be messy, and it doesn't like say anything about my capacity as a parent. If I go downstairs right now, my anxiety will peak because I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so instead, like, okay, I'm not even supposed to be downstairs right now. So I'll just focus on, centering myself up here. And, that's what I was doing earlier before you texted me. I was like, I have a bunch of boxes here that I just never bothered unpacking. I'm like, well, I'm here. I might as well do it. Even when Rick and Hazel were in Arizona for that week over Christmas, I spent the entire week cleaning. That's like all I did. I did all the laundry. I vacuumed, I mopped, I swept, I did everything. And it helped, but it took 2 days of that being home for it to turn back into chaos.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I need to work on, is just accepting that it's okay for things to not look perfect for a couple years.
So I think one of the things, because like we, again, Cohen's birthday and Christmas just happened. So we had this like huge influx of toys. And holy shit, I was losing my fucking mind. So
like, where do I put it all?
Well, so we started doing a toy rotation, and I literally I put the toys I wanted to put on his toy shelf, and I took everything else out and I put it in the bonus room, which we're not really using right now. And so he only has, 7 toys out to play with.
Yep.
And so it only takes me 7 toys to like reset his play area. And that has made a huge difference for me.
Oh, I love toy rotations.
Like I
That's
could
what
not,
we do,
I
too.
could not, because he's not at the age where he's like playing make believe with his toys. He's at the age where he just
Yeah.
wants to take him out, smash him around, throw him on the floor, and then move on to the next toy. It's just like pulling shit out, and that is the fun of it. And he can pull out 7 toys and have fun instead of 37 toys, and it makes it so I don't lose my mind.
Yeah, and I miss the issue, because we've done toy rotations Hazel's whole life. The problem is that Hazel knows where I keep the other toys. So she'll see what's out for her and she'll go, I don't want to play with these. And then she will literally go into the toy closet and start digging and like find whatever. I'll go downstairs and there will be toys all over the floor and be like, Mommy, I'm going to play with this. Like, where did you even find that? That is not supposed to be out right now. So that's another thing that I'm currently struggling with, is like finding a system in the new house that works, because previously in Arizona, we had a closet that was dedicated to toys. And so it was upstairs and her play space was downstairs. So I could literally, once she'd go to sleep, take the upstairs toys, bring them down and rotate them that way. But right now there's like some in Rick's office closet and some in the hallway closet and some that are out, and there's no real like system. And so I think that's going to be a big goal for me this year as well, is to figure out a good system, especially as Hunt gets older, once he starts playing with toys too.
Yeah.
Like he's leap 4, man. We haven't talked about like Hunt in a minute on here, but he's like a different baby. He's at the point where he's about to roll from his back to his stomach. I put him down to sleep last night, and I walked in this morning to feed him, and he was full 180 in the other direction. Like he like grabs on this crib and he like pulls himself around. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna be mobile here in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Rick about this. What I think we're gonna do is, and you guys in chat don't know this, but Steph knows what I'm talking about. The layout of my living room, we have a gap between the couch and the windows where we have all of Hazel's stuff. And it's nice for like keeping it out of the space, but it's hard because it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. She doesn't really go back there very often because she can't see it.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to rearrange the living room. So we're the couch, we're going to turn the other direction. So instead of making it like an open space living room, we're going to turn it into kind of like a square. So the couch will be, instead of being against that wall, will be on the other side, so that all of her toys will be exposed. So it truly is going to be a playroom / living room for the kids.
That's kind of what we did. I mean, like his whole toy thing right now is in between the living room and the kitchen, so that when I'm like in the kitchen, I can watch him play and stuff like that. And it's, I mean, it works for now, but it's definitely like it takes over your entire space.
And I will say, like, I love our new house. I love this house so much. But the one thing our old house had, and you remember this, was Hazel's playroom was directly next to our living room. And it was
a dining room that you converted into a playroom, right?
Yeah, but that's my point. That like,
it was
I
like
could
right
literally
there.
have all her stuff over there. It was right there. It was in a separate space, and I could still watch her, and she would still have the freedom to play. Like that room, now that she's a little bit older, I definitely miss that room for her.
Yeah.
And if we were to build another house or move again, that's something that I would not miss out on. Like I would make sure that
if you guys had one extra bedroom, the loft space that you have right now would be a perfect play space for them.
And that was the plan.
Yeah.
But even still, like we spend so much of our time downstairs that it would have been so much more convenient to have a space downstairs for us all to hang out and for them to play. And like I want to supervise my kids, obviously. And so if this were the play space for them, we would all have to be up here, generally speaking. And so I'm like, mind you, I can trust Hazel now at this point to like play by herself.
Yeah.
I don't need to be here when she does it. But because Hunt is so little, right? It's like, well, it's tough. I liked that a lot. It goes down to accepting like this is just part of the deal.
Yeah.
Like at this age.
But part of the reason I like having the play space upstairs is because it's away from the TV. Like, yes, it's kind of inconvenient that like if you're cooking, you can't be watching them if they're in the play space. But at least when they're in the play space, it dedicates their mentality to I'm playing right now with my toys and I'm doing make-believe and I'm doing all that stuff. Having that separation from like the rest of the house where like daddy's watching TV and mommy's cooking and other things are happening and going on and and they kind of get sucked into that. Like it is nice to have this like separation, but
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like to your point, exactly. Like we have this giant bonus room that we're excited to dedicate to Brennan or Cohen stuff. But right now he's at the age where like I want to be watching him while I'm cooking and all that stuff because I am solo parenting because Brennan and I switch off roles that it's like would be impossible to like have him upstairs playing and then me needing to cook dinner and like having to bring us downstairs and then teleporting like toys back and forth and whatever. So we just have everything
100%.
downstairs right now.
Yep. And that's the thing is that you can change those as he grows too. Like as he's at different phases of his life and, you know, once he's old enough that you can trust him to be unsupervised and do things like that, then, you know, your house will change as your kids grow. And so that's the thing that with Hazel is so nice is that she's at that point. And so like there's not much more we have to do as far as like changing the structure of where we're at, but because Hunt is in the mix and he's going to be developing right along behind her, we still have to like, it's just, that's part of having kids. Things change so fast. Like even just without babies or with babies, like every 5 minutes you think you've got it right and then something's new and changing. Like you've got a system, you've got a schedule, and then boom, something's changing.
Today, like Cohen literally wakes up at between 7 and 7:30 every single day on the dot. Today, 6:15, he's standing in his crib crying, and I'm like,
oh no,
what's happening? And we put him down for his nap. I'm like, oh my God, he woke up so early. We like put him down for his nap at his normal time. So he was up an hour longer than he normally is. And he only slept for an hour and a half when he usually sleeps for 2 hours on the dots. And so I'm just like, what's happening?
Yeah, he might be getting to that point where he's going to be ready for just one nap soon.
I think it's his teeth. He's not one to really like put his hands in his mouth, and he's been like rubbing the top of his gums like pretty consistently. And this tooth, so like he's got his two front teeth, the one next to it, it's like
that one
it
cut
broke.
through, right?
Yeah. And then the one on the other side looks like it's starting to come out, and his two top teeth are just chilling. So I don't know if he's gonna be like, he's gonna have these like weird,
a little vampire.
Yeah, just two like vampire teeth and nothing else, or what? But
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so, and I hope you take a million pictures so you could show him one
So
day.
funny.
Like, look, you were a cute little vampire.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's it. Makes me so. It's funny you mentioned teeth. Pretty sure Hazel can hear me, but somehow the topic of losing teeth came up.
Oh,
and Hazel is terrified.
really?
She's like, but I don't want my teeth to fall out. I'm like, oh, honey. I'm like, it's exciting. Like you get a new one that comes in after. And she's like, but I don't. I'm like, oh my God.
That's, I mean,
it's a scary concept when you think about it.
For sure. I mean, that's 100% why the tooth fairy was invented, right? Is so that kids didn't get so traumatized by the idea of like,
and it's funny you mentioned the tooth fairy because,
you
know, we've talked on the show about like Santa, right? And my thoughts on that. And if you guys don't know, like we very much had the approach of like, Santa is pretend. Like we talk about it. We made cookies. We left them out. We left milk. Like we did the whole thing. But like Hazel is aware that it's pretend, and she still loves it. It's the same thing as like unicorns are pretend, right? But for whatever reason, like I don't have nearly as much of a reservation about the tooth fairy as I did the whole Santa thing. And I think it's because like once kids are done losing their teeth,
right?
Like you move on and it's done.
Right.
Whereas
Santa's
Christmas is an every year thing. And so, but you're absolutely right. Like, I think, because I started to tell her, I was like, oh, don't worry, the tooth fairy. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like, how do I feel about this?
Let your child sell her bones.
Like, she's going to buy them. Don't worry, you get money. I don't know. I'm curious, like, how, because you and I talked about the Christmas thing. Like, how do you plan on approaching that next year with Cohen?
I don't know. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I will take a similar approach to you. I don't
think so.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like Brennan and I have no plans to do this like exorbitant, like this man comes down our chimney and, you know, leaves you every single present that's on your wish list all of a sudden comes to fruition because this like mystery man,
and only if you're good, only if you behave,
breaks into our home and leaves them under the tree. Like I think we will do a similar approach where it's like, here, like, this is a story about Santa and it's make believe, but we like to play pretend, and it's really fun. And Santa will, you know, you can ask for one gift a year from Santa Claus, and you have to think really, really hard. And, you know, you only get to choose one. So make it like, you know, count or whatever. Like, I don't like the idea of like them, because kids are crazy, right? Like, they want fucking ponies and shit. They want like a million things, right? It's not just like ooh, I really want a Bratz doll. It's like, I want this and I want this and I want this and I want this and I want this. And I don't want to like create this culture with my children where they believe they can just like ask for anything and everything they want once a year, you know?
You know what though? It's funny you mentioned that, because Hazel got spoiled this Christmas. Like, between Rick's parents, his Connecticut family, and just the shopping I did, like, girlfriend got hooked up, right? But and I don't know if it's just her age, maybe it'll continue as she gets older, but like, I've never had that issue with her. She's never felt like, well, I want this and I want this and I want this. I can count on one hand the amount of times that we've been at the store and she'll like throw a fit over me not letting her buy a new toy. Like, if anything, we'll be at Target and she'll be like, I have that at home. And she'll like get excited about the fact that she has one of the toys there. Like, it's and sometimes we'll be there. She'll be like, Mommy, can I have this? And, you know, if it's like something small and something little, I'll be like, yeah, you can pick out one thing while we're here. But the rule, and actually you were the one who introduced me to this idea and I loved it, is that because she has so much stuff, the rule will be, okay, we can buy one thing, but that means that we have to like send one of the toys that you have at home to donate and
one
to
in,
give
one
to
out.
a kid who needs it. And I think that's smart to one, not have a zillion things everywhere, and two, to teach your kid, you know, that kids need other things, that she's lucky to have everything that she does,
Right.
And just minimalism in general, right? Like, I think all of those things are beneficial for everybody involved, and so we did that. I haven't done it in a while because Hazel, we didn't apply that rule to Christmas, but I had her help me like with her stuffies. That's gonna be the next thing. She has so many stuffed animal stuff, it's ridiculous. She doesn't even know she has half of them. So I'm gonna tell her, like, Hazel, we're gonna go through your stuffies and we're gonna pick out, you know, 3 to give to some kids who want them. And once we did that, she started asking questions. She was like, well, where are the kids? Like, who are we giving them to? Like, where are they? I'm like, well, they're gonna go to the store to bring them home. We're gonna give them to the store. And so I could see the wheels kind of turning. And, you know, teaching your kid charity, teaching your kid that the you know, the spirit of giving. And I don't know, I think those are all important lessons. I love that you introduced me to that idea because I think it's so smart.
Yeah, I mean, and it just, right, like, one of the main core philosophies with raising toddlers is it makes your life so much easier if you give them the choice, and then they make the choice themselves, and then they feel empowered by that. So, you know, if she has 12,000 stuffies and you ask her to pick 3, you're still accomplishing the goal, and you're giving her the faculty to choose herself which of the 3, you know, she wants to give away. And then she feels good about that. She feels empowered about that. She feels confidence in that. And that's really a good lesson too. But I mean, one of the things I'm struggling with is, and I love this, I feel very, very grateful. But my sister-in-law keeps bringing over all of Evelyn's toys to like as hand-me-downs. And it's great because like free choice, like obviously my kid loves to play them, but then I don't have the capacity to like give those away, right? Because they're not mine. So then now I have like just so many fucking toys, dude.
I mean, you said that they were planning on having another baby, right?
Yes. Yeah. So obviously, like, that's the other thing. I don't want to give away a bunch of shit because like I want to be able back. They want their stuff back, and I want to be able to give them our stuff to borrow for their second kid, but we want to have a second kid and then not so far future, right? So then it's just like I can't wait until
it's a cyclone.
I can't wait until I'm in your position where both kids are out of my body, and from there on out, when we start growing out of stuff, we can just like donate it.
Even so funny you mentioned that. So the Mamaroo, both my kids love the Mamaroo swing. Hazel loved it. Hunt loves it. He sits in it all day. And he had a blowout this morning, and it like washed it. And I was like, babe, we have to wash it now. And he like made some joke. He's like, why? We're done with it almost after this. He's about to outgrow it. We're not going to use it again. I'm like, babe, that's like a $300 swing. Like, we're going to sell it. We don't need it anymore. Like, once Hunk outgrows it, we're done. And that's going to be nice to just like kind of be able to say, okay, it's now that we're done with kids, we have a plan for everything. Like, again, kind of like we talked about earlier, moving on to the next chapter, whatever that is for the kids. So yeah, but it's funny though. I should send you a picture of Hunt in that swing because he just looks like a baby giant in that thing because he's so huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was supposed to have his 4-month checkup and it got delayed because we thought he was showing COVID symptoms like 2 weeks ago. And we tested him, he was negative. So his appointment got pushed back to 2 weeks, which is tomorrow. And obviously he can't go tomorrow because he's on quarantine. So we still don't know how big he is. But if I were to guess, based on like, you know, when you weigh yourself and then you weigh yourself holding your baby, he's probably right around 20 pounds right now.
Shut the fuck up, Haley.
He's fucking huge. He's a big baby. He's in 9-month clothing. He's almost in 12 months.
Cohen is 20 pounds, right?
Do our kids really weigh the same?
Yes, and they're like the 9 to 10 months apart.
What?
Cohen was 20 pounds last week, and I just weighed him yesterday, and he was like 21 pounds 5.8 ounces.
Okay, so he's still a little bigger.
But that's only but like,
I know
that's that's insane.
It's a lot. My chat's like offensive linebacker, tiny linebacker, a center. He's gonna be dunking on fools.
For a 4-month-old baby to be 20 pounds is mind blowing to me. That's insane.
I mean, and you know what's funny about that is I bought so many cute baby clothes, thinking like, okay, well, if I buy 9 months right now, that'll be perfect. If it like a cute little shorts and t-shirt outfit because it'll be summertime and he's 9 months old and like he'll look so cute. And I'm like, it's literally 37 degrees outside and I'm putting you in this outfit because I want you to wear it once before you outgrow it. Like you're not even leaving the house and I'm putting it on you. Like he's just outgrowing it all so fast.
Yeah.
It's like, it's devastating seeing these clothes go by so fast. And I'm like, what happened? Where did my little baby go?
Dude, we experience that like on a daily basis.
It's freaky.
Cohen
it's so crazy.
He's huge. And that's the thing. Cohen's really skinny, sure, but he's fucking tall. He's like 95th percentile in height.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. He's definitely taller than Hunt.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I mean, I would hope so. Imagine if fucking Cohen was Hunt's height.
Well, it's more just that they're wearing the same size clothes.
Well, like not really. He's 9 months.
Is for sure in
Cohen
length.
Cohen's wearing 18-month clothes right now. 12 to 18 months.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. He's really tall.
12 to 18 months. I forgot. Okay.
Yeah. But he's not, I mean, but like he's skinny. So 21 pounds. Like, I'm not kidding. Like last week I weighed him and he was like 20 pounds, 11 or whatever. He's eating like a fucking rabid animal right now. So I'm very grateful that he's bulk up. He's putting on weight again. But
is he still in size 3?
Diapers? He is size 3 in the daytime, size 4 at night.
Okay. Yeah, our kids wear the same size diapers, Chad.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hunt is very, he's got like a little pot belly. He's just like a little sturdy little nugget.
So chunky.
Yeah.
He's way chunkier than Hazel was, which is so interesting. Like,
well, he was even chunkier in womb too, you know, like he's just an all around big kid. He always has been,
big kid.
You know?
I know. And I'll tell you what, like this is that point where his personality is starting to show.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll look at you and he'll just get the biggest smile on his face. And he like, Rick made some kind of joke, ironically, the other day. And Hunt just looked at him and just giggled out of nowhere. And Rick was like, yeah, buddy, that's right. I'm funny. Like his little personality's poking through.
Yeah.
And the fact that he has books that he thinks are funny. And like, I know if I like tickle him in a certain place, he'll laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is so cool. Like, that's cool. That's fun. So even though I'm stressing about the fact that we're almost at the point where he's going to be mobile soon, it's getting me excited because that's like, it's hard, but it's definitely the fun part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't wait until Hunt is 14 and is eating a loaf of bread a day. Yeah, Rick said the same thing. Apparently with boys, when they get into like the preteen teenage years,
they're like
just
bottomless
eat
pit.
everything in your fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And in chat, I don't know if you guys can attest to this, but you know, Rick grew up with his stepbrother and both of them would come home from school every single day and just eat like triple the amount that everybody else in the house would eat.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's just teenagers or just boys, but I'm pretty
Boys.
sure. Yeah, because I don't think I did that
did not
as a kid.
I've
and
always
it's funny
been
going from Hazel, who's so dainty and is so just like, you know, like it's so our relationship with food. I've been very direct about like the way that we teach Hazel with food, because I have my entire life had a horrible relationship with food. Like my dad, that's a whole separate issue, but I just was never raised properly. And I know a lot of kids you grow up with like finish your plate. If you don't eat anything on your plate, you can't have dessert or whatever. And the route that we've taken has been very laid back. But we'll choose what's on the menu, but Hazel can eat however much she wants.
Right.
If she wants 2 bites and that's all she's hungry for, that's fine. If she wants to eat 2 bowls of pasta, that's fine. Like, we're very chill about it. And I'm curious to see, like, I'm grateful for it because we had 2 of her friends come over whose parents have a very different approach to how they have their kids eat. And it's very much like, you need to have at least 3 bites of your food. You can't, whoever finishes their meal first wins. If you can only have a treat if you finish what's on your plate. Like, and they were over at our house and those rules don't apply at our house. And I could just see their confusion. They were like, well, John, I need to finish what's on my plate before I can have dessert. And for us, it's like, we serve dessert with dinner. Like, we'll just, because otherwise you're making dessert something special and something you need to earn, and you're glorifying it. And that's why some kids become obsessed with sweets and stuff like that. And I was really proud of Hazel in that moment because, you know, our rules were like, you don't have to eat if you're not hungry. And they were like, okay. You know, you could tell they were confused, but they had like a couple bites of their food and then they went and played. And Hazel listened to her body and she was like, well, I'm still hungry. And she sat there and ate her food while her 2 friends played with all her stuff. And you would think that seeing all of her friends going and playing, she would be like, okay, well, I'm done too, and go and play.
Right.
Nope. She was still hungry. And so she sat there and she watched and talked to her friends while they played, and she continued eating her dinner. And in that moment I was like, you know, it's very easy to question yourself when you parent and the way you're raising your kids. And in that moment, I was really glad that we decided to take that route with the way that we treat food in our household.
And right now we're like very firmly in the solid food exploration phase with Cohen. And the literature says, like, if you create low pressure situations, then you will be less likely to have a picky eater on your hands, you
100%.
know? And it's hard right now for us. The balance is hard because we need Cohen to
gain weight.
Yes. Cause you know, he was in not necessarily a dangerous position, but he was in a position I was really uncomfortable with as his parent. He, you know, had a really bad like cold/flu, and then 2 weeks later he got RSV, and he was in like the 40th percentile with weight and climbing, and he dropped all the way back down to like the teens, and it was heartbreaking to see him just like shrivel up into nothing. Like it's so hard for me to talk about, but like he had like no fat on his thighs, no fat on his like arms. I could see his ribs when he would breathe. I could see his like the notches in his spine when he would like bend over.
That's different. That's obviously a different situation.
And it's
right?
just like
when it's a health thing, that's completely different.
So it was just hard for me to be like, so like I just remember like having moments where like he would stop drinking his bottle, right? And I'd be like really trying to like get him do all the tricks and whatever to try and get it back in his mouth. And I had to just like sit there and like rein it in and be like, he's not feeling well. He does not want to finish this bottle, even though it fucking terrifies me that he got 5 calories instead of the 300 calories he needs. I need to just like let it go and let him set the pace. And when he's ready, he'll come back to food and he'll be hungry again, and we'll be okay. And like it wasn't until I had like a conversation with my nutritionist. We have an infant nutritionist that we work with, and she said the same thing to me. She's like, you just gotta let it go. His body will tell him if he needs more calories, if he needs more food. He's not gonna it's not to the point where we need to be like afraid. Like, he'll get over this sickness and we'll get back on track.
Right.
And it might take a week, it might take 3 weeks, it may take 2 months, like, but the reality is we'll get there. And you know, it's coming to fruition now. He's back up to the 41 percentile, and like I can kind of like take a deep breath again. But for a minute there, I was like fucking trying to shove food in his mouth, and I like had to like take a step back and be like, it's okay. it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And it's worked itself out. He's like rabid. We will give him like 3 muffins and like a bunch of strawberries and like some mozzarella cheese, and he'll eat the whole plate. And it's just such a relief to me to like see him like that again.
It's important too to know that like kids at this age are intuitive eaters. Like that's the whole platform to baby-led weaning, is that kids know their body. They know when they're hungry. They'll stop eating when they're not hungry. And overeating and things like that are taught behaviors at this age.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so difficult to not unintentionally implement our own anxieties and concerns about whether it's food or like body image or whatever it is onto our kids. It's just, why am I getting so much? Oh, it's because of me. I keep getting the Nanit alert. I'm like, Hunt's not at his room. And then I realize the door is literally open next to me and it's hearing me. But like being aware of that in that situation, like you're talking about, is the important thing. And just knowing like, okay, it's going to work itself out. Like my experience with this does not have to directly affect my child. If my child is leading this situation, I need to let my child lead.
Right.
And like I said, like I had a lot of my own body image issues growing up and my own struggles in my relationship with food because my dad had a lot of that. Oh my God, my dad is the worst when it comes to food. Like he's constantly dieting. He's constantly going from yo-yoing to working out to having cheesecake every night. Like he's all over the place. Like I would, kids eat a lot. I remember when I played soccer as a kid. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old and I was hungry. And so we'd go to McDonald's after a game or whatever. And I would order chicken nuggets and French fries and a burger. I would get all 3 because I was so hungry. And my dad would just shame me for it. He'd be like, well, Hannah on your team doesn't eat that much. Like she doesn't need to order 2 things on the menu. Like I very vividly remember those moments and like how they stuck with me and the shame that I felt and how he would make me feel fat and like all these different things. And so I'm very intentionally attempting to not do that to my child. Like, girl, if you're hungry and you want chicken nuggets and a burger, go off. Like you're not gonna just eat because you're not hungry. Your body's telling you something,
right?
So you should listen to it. Whatever your body's telling you. If you're not hungry, you're not hungry. If you're starving, eat whatever you feel like, or eat however much you feel like eating. And that's not to say that it's like open season on my kitchen, because we as the parents decide what's on the menu.
Right.
So there'll be moments where it's dinner time and Hazel will be like, I don't want to eat this, and I'm like, okay, I hear you, but if you don't want to eat, you don't have to eat. But this is what's on the menu tonight. And there's not going to be like after dinner, the kitchen's closed. Like we decide when it's time to eat and we decide what's on the menu, and she can decide to eat however much of whatever that meal is that she wants to eat.
Yeah.
So there's been some hard lessons, she'll be like, well, I don't want to eat this. I'll be like, okay. And she'll be excused and she'll go do her thing. And then it's like bedtime. She's getting ready for bed and she'll be like, but I'm hungry. It's like, sorry, sweetie, kitchen's closed. Like that's it. That was what was on the menu. You chose not to eat dinner.
And I read a lot of literature on that. That's like, it's really hard as a parent because you're like, my kid's hungry, I need to feed them. But the reality is they're going to be okay and they'll be extra hungry for breakfast and they'll have a really big breakfast the next day, That's
like, literally Hazel's MO. She goes so hard on breakfast. Like girlfriend will get her own stuff. If we go to Starbucks, she'll get like her egg bites and then she'll ask to split my sandwich with me. And then like if I'm cooking at home, I'll make her like eggs and bacon and toast and she'll eat all of it. And then she'll like skip lunch and barely have dinner. It's just, that they always make up for it somehow. It just depends on when they're hungry. So it's important to just, trust your kid, let them be the one in charge of how much their body needs. Cause we don't know if they're like, I'm not inside. There was one thing that my father-in-law did where he would, like feel Hazel's tummy and be like, like, is there any more room in there? It feels like there's some more room in there. Like, oh, it doesn't feel like there's much more room in there. And Hazel thought it was funny. And I'm sitting there like, I hate this. Like, I hate it. And she asked me, she doesn't do this anymore, but she asked me like a couple days afterwards, she was like, Mommy, does my tummy feel full? And I looked at her and I was like, I have no idea, sweetheart. Only you know the answer to that. Like, you tell me, do you still feel like, are you still hungry? Is there still room in your tummy? And she'd be like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then you keep eating if you're still hungry. Like it's just the little things like that. You know what I mean? I think, it's just good for kids to lay that foundation because it truly does affect the habits that they develop as they grow up into the rest of their lives. Charlie, I hate that. that makes me so angry that he just said that to you. I feel like this may have been a triggering conversation for some people. Sorry if that happened to any of you guys chat. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I just have a dickhead in my chat right now.
Ugh. Imagine coming into this conversation and being an asshole.
Yes.
Like, we're literally talking about raising babies.
Well, that was their point. If you can't figure this out, you shouldn't have become a parent in the first place.
Figure what out? You know what's important to say, though, is that because I know a lot of people who watch this don't have kids.
If that's not painfully obvious, I don't.
Yeah. But it's I think if I were on the outside looking in at this conversation and I didn't have kids, I would be terrified because all this stuff that I'm talking about, I knew none.
Yeah, but being terrified is one thing. Feeling like you have the credentials to comment on something like that.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about this guy. I'm talking about in general for some people who come in and say, like, who hear what we're talking about have no idea.
Right.
The only reason that I am as educated on this as possible is because I've done so much research. Like, you're not just born knowing these things. You know, we have, and you guys, if you are curious, please feel free to ask myself or Steph. We both have so many resources that we love on Instagram, especially like various accounts that teach you about baby-led weaning, about what to feed your kids, how to introduce solids, like different methods to go about doing it, the science and research behind them. And I think we're lucky that we live in the social media age where these resources are so readily available versus having to like do more digging and like before the internet. Like, you know, imagine not having the internet as a resource to learn these things. It would be so much harder. So you guys feel free to ask.
But it's not like, but like caveat though, all of the resources that are available, all of the literature that exists still doesn't complete the whole picture. You are still the parent. Your child is still your child, and it is your decision how you choose to raise them. And other people 100%. Can definitely, you know, offer advice if asked for, but they don't need to influence you to the point where you feel like you're a bad parent or you're doing something different, like wrong because you're doing it differently. You're not doing it the same. So like for like two friends to discuss parenthood the way that they're raising their children, and for someone to come in and make shitty comments, it's just, I don't really understand that. I just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, but it's not you bring up a good point, you know?
Though. Well, what I was going to say is you bring up a really good point because there are some accounts that I follow that say certain things, and I even though all the comments will be like, "Oh my God, thank you for sharing this. I totally agree. I'm so happy I heard about this from you." Like, I'll flat out disagree. Like, one of those things being, there's an account I follow called Raise Good Kids. And they posted, I'm gonna see if I can find the post. They posted about like blame and how to like not share, like get out of the habit of blaming your kids or like whose fault it is and that kind of stuff. And while I understand like where that's coming from, I still think it's important to consider accountability.
Right.
Like if something happens, like I know there's this method, there's this mentality that, let's say your kid knocks their cup of water on the floor, to instead of saying, "Oh, you knocked the water off on the floor," saying, "Oh, the water was knocked on the floor," or, "Oh, there's water on the floor." It's like, why are we not teaching accountability? Like, no, I'm going to tell my kid, "Hey, you knocked the water on the floor. Like, you did that. And so because you did that, it's your job to clean it up." Like, I kind of miss, I don't really understand why it's, and maybe it's because the idea of blame leads to shame. Maybe that's what it is. And we don't want to shame our kids. And I can understand that to an extent, but I still think it's important to teach your kids accountability. So that way, if something does happen, you know what it is that you have to do to repair whatever it is that happened. It's not like the universe didn't just knock over the water, right? There was an action that led to that.
Well,
I'm curious to know what you think of that.
I think there's a difference between exactly what you said, blaming not even blaming, but like the way that you say, "Hey, babe, like your hand, you know, you accidentally bumped the water and it fell on the floor. Let's clean it up because that's the the thing that you're trying to teach your kid.
Yeah.
There's obviously a difference between speaking to your kid that way and being like, oh, what the hell, Hazel? I can't believe you knocked the water on the floor. What were you thinking? Right? Like, that's shame. Like, obviously, like, that, not how I would parent.
Right.
But to your point, like, just, I don't really understand that philosophy either. It would just be like, oh, oops. Look at the water on the floor. I wonder how that got there. Like, let's clean it. Like, it just seems kind of weird. I'm imagining how that translates later in life when they're older and you're not there to supervise or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're at school and Hazel knocks over a water and she's just like, oh, the water's there. Like, you know, how does that benefit her with her social interactions later when people will be like, no, dude, you knocked that over. Why are you pretending that it just like happened, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that right there, I think, is the prime example of just because you see it on social media doesn't mean that it's the like right method to teach your kid. Like, I see plenty of things that I disagree
for you,
with.
right?
Right. But that's my point, is that like, just because you see other people talking about it doesn't mean it's right. It's important, like, as a parent, for you to decide what's right for your kid and your family and how your kid, every kid's different. Like, you can say, okay, this is the way to handle this situation. But like, the perfect example of this is Hazel and Aria. Like, so our friend Alyssa, their daughter Aria, and my daughter are best friends. Like, every time they see each other, they're obsessed with each other. But like, the way that Aria would react to a certain thing versus the way that Hazel react to a certain thing is just night and day. Hi, buddy. Oh, Coco. Rick literally just put Hunt down, and I had the instinct to like grab him and show him to chat, and then I remembered I have COVID. Hi, Bubba.
Look how huge he is now.
Hi, big boy. Hi, honey. God, that face he just made, he looked so much like Brennan there. That was crazy.
Are you stinky?
Oh, my handsome boy.
You pooped twice? You had 2 poops? 3 poops? Oh, you had
That's a lot of poops.
Yeah.
God, he's so handsome, Steph.
3 of them? Did he actually?
He's so handsome.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. He's such a big kid now. It's crazy. Like, look at him. Look how tall he is. He's huge.
He's getting more hair.
Look at him.
And he just walks around.
Wow. Yeah, baby.
Look at him. He just does stuff
He's
now.
like a full adult now. It's crazy.
He's so grown. Plays with everything.
Yeah.
God, I'm going to have to baby lock everything again. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
One of our baby locks the baby lock on our Tupperware drawer broke. And so we just, at this point, it's like one of the distractions while I'm cooking and stuff. So he just opens the whole Tupperware drawer and just goes.
And just takes everything out.
Lids and bottoms. And they're just like scattered around my kitchen. And I'm just like, okay.
Hunt has more hair than Cohen. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hunt has more hair than most humans.
Cohen was born with like literally 0 hair, hairless baby. And now he's got hair in the back of his head, but he does nothing growing on top. So like he's going to have
little mullet.
He's going to have this weird like
Hunt's got a big bald spot.
What is it?
Like this big.
Friar
right
tuck.
On the back of his
He's going to have a friar tuck haircut.
Yeah, they'll grow out of it. Actually, Hunt's hair has thinned out a lot on top of his head because he had cradle cap.
Mm-hmm.
And when I used the little kit you got me, I was like, when I would take all the flakes off, a lot of his hair would come out with it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got like a lot of thin hair, just like right up here. And the rest of it's pretty thick, except his bald spot.
I feel like that's pretty common though. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bald spot too. It'll go away. But he's still, you know what? He still has hairy ears.
Really?
So my son was born, chat, with hair literally all over him. Like all over his shoulders, all over his back, all over his ears. And the hair on his back and shoulders is gone. But literally like on the backs of his earlobes, right here. He just has these super fine little hairs. They like curl around into the front. It's so cute. I'm like, I know this won't stay forever, but it sure is cute. They grow fast. Oh, hi, Bree. Callie's here. Thank you for the raid, babe.
Hi, Callie.
Callie, we love you.
We do.
We love her so much. Oh my God, you were playing League?
She was. She said,
we should all
Warzone
play
is
League.
down. Playing LOL.
We should all play League.
I
We can
have
get
such
Vernon on it.
I have such a love-hate relationship with League.
Let's do it. I've been playing League so much, Steph. It's terrible. I hate it. I love it. But
So funny.
No, seriously.
Justin's in my stream a lot, and he was telling me that you had a clan because you played Destiny 2 when it first came out. I cannot see you playing Destiny.
Oh, for sure. I played a ton of Destiny
It's
2
so
when it came
funny
out.
to me.
Oh yeah, it's been years since I've played it, but for sure. Callie says she's down.
Okay.
Should do it. Do you want to do it?
Ugh, not really, to be completely honest, but
Well, it's tough because I think you and I both play bot lane, right?
I mean, I can play. I play everything but top. I hate top lane, but
We just need to get a top laner, and then we're good.
mm-hmm.
Because Vern will do whatever too.
Vern likes to jungle when he plays with like people who don't play League a ton.
What do you, Bree? What do you play? What's your position? We just need support in a top laner or a mid and a top laner. Then, if you're jungling, I love League. It just
I
hates
can play
me in
everything
return.
except top. Yeah, top's fucking so shitty. Top lane sucks. You literally just sit there and have to hit your last hits and farm for the entire first like half of the game until your character is big enough to like womp on everyone else. Like that's so boring to me.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Top sucks. Okay, so we just need a top laner. Rick will probably play top if we ask him.
Sure.
Okay, well I'm excited. When are we doing this?
I don't know, dog. I don't even know. I don't even know how to. Do I even have the game installed? Let me look.
Yes, you do. Of course you do.
Don't say of
You
course.
played not that long ago with Rick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple months ago. Yeah, I
Did
like
you
had like
uninstall it between then?
I might have because I actually ran out of hard drive space. No, I don't think I did.
Okay.
I had like a month where I was like actually like really into League for a full month, and then it just disappeared again. It's like it comes and goes, and then I like resist
Waves.
the urge.
Maybe I should play League today. What are you doing at 1:30?
It's my turn to watch Cohen.
Oh, okay. I thought you had an appointment.
No.
Shoot, maybe I can do it for a 4 hours. I just finished Arcane. Ah, no wonder she's into it. That's what happened to me. I finished Arcane and I got excited again. It got me back into it. All right,
Rick
well, now I
would
know
do
what I'm doing
anything
after
you
our
want,
podcast.
Haley. LOL.
What? Who said that?
A suspect in your chat.
Oh, Rick would do anything you want. I will say the best part of me having COVID is the Rick content that I've gotten for social media. I think that's why people like me is because of Rick. I've just decided.
That's your allure as your husband.
Yes, 100%. And anytime I post anything on Twitter that has anything to do with Rick, it pops off every time.
He's a fun.
So I don't know what if it's just him or like our marriage. I don't know what it is, but
Where
people love
are
it.
my pickles?
The reason I'm pissed is because he asked me. He was at the drive-thru and he's like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I want a quarter pounder, double quarter pounder with cheese." And he was like, "Okay, no pickles." And I was like, "No, I want pickles. Rick doesn't like pickles. Like, give me pickles." He's like, "Okay." And then he comes back. He's like, "Here you go," and hands it to me and walks away. And
There's
as I'm
no
eating it, I'm
pickles.
like, "There's no pickles on this bitch." And I look at the thing, and sure enough, it says no pickles. Where the fuck are my pickles, man?
Did he give you the wrong one, or did he actually
No,
order
apparently
no pickles?
McDonald's screwed it up. They like gave him, they tried to give him an extra drink, and then he was like, "I didn't order this," so he thinks it was their fault because his didn't have pickles either. So I'm like, whatever, fine. I was pissed.
Babe, I need you to go into our fridge, individually cut pickles into
Into
wedges,
slices.
and then
We
let me
should
put
have done
them
that.
on.
I have pickles. Like, we totally could have done that. Okay, well now I'm asking. I'm definitely playing League after this.
You're asking Rick to play League with you?
There's no way he's on kid duty.
Oh, that's
But I
true.
may or may not have a DM group on Twitter of people from my chat who play League to see if people will play with me. And I just ping them whenever I want to play.
Hey, I have the itch. Come fucking fuel my addiction.
You know what? You know what's funny is that I freaking hated this game for forever.
Playing it or just its existence?
That's a great question. I think it was its existence.
Yeah. It's fun to play. It's a
It's a fun game.
caveat. It's fun to play if you have a full like flex squad and you guys are chilling in voice and you're having a good time. It's super fun. If you're trying to take the game seriously and rank up, it's fucking miserable experience.
I have no interest in playing ranked just because I know what it does to me. And like, I remember when I played CSGO and I cared so much about my rank and it made me hate the game.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
The only difference between ranked and normals is that you just get more like stupid shit that happens in normals where like, you know, someone's just running down mid feeding or they're playing a new champ and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. At least in ranked, even if I'm not taking the ranking seriously, I feel like you get more like games with intention where people are like actually playing champs they know and like stuff like that.
Yeah, they're trying. That's the difference. Like in normals, you can just mess around and kind of do whatever you want, and it's not a big deal because if you lose, who cares? It's not ranked.
Yeah.
But and that's kind of like the lore for me too, is that like I really want to learn new champions, but I'm also a creature of habit, and so I just want to keep playing what I know. And so I'm like, oh, but I also want to like get better at Jinx and get better at Caitlyn. In reality, it's like, no, Hayli, learn Vayne. Like, learn the other champs that you have. Stop being a one-trick pony. But that's the good thing about normals, is that it gives me a chance to do that. I hate the fact that, you know what's funny though, is that Rick was the one who was so obsessed with it, and now that I'm playing it, he's like, I want nothing to do with it.
Shut up.
He wants nothing to do with League right now. I ask him to play with me and he won't do it, and then I'll play and he'll come up here and he'll backseat game. And he'll be like, do this. What is
he? He's playing Factorio? Is that what he's still playing?
Satisfactory.
He gave up League completely.
He's really into Tarkov right now. But this, I mean, I'm not kidding. This man will literally stand right here and he will lean over and he'll be like, all right. No, fire E, lay a trap right there in that bush. Okay, ping this, ward this right here. And I'm like, and then we'll get in a fight and I'll be like, go in. No, don't do that. Back out. You gotta leave. Like, he just can't help himself. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Get away from me. And
either
then
get your ass into,
and like, babe, just play with me.
Either play my support
like,
or
no,
just
I won't do it. Did what?
He said, either play my fucking support or get the fuck away from me.
Thank you. And he's like, no, I don't want to play this game. I'm like, bullshit, you don't want to play this game. And then he'll like turn my stream on downstairs and then he'll get stressed out and then I'll have to shut it off.
That's funny.
I'm like, you have an addiction, and if you really care that much, you should just play with
interesting that he's so different with you. I mean, I guess that's the difference between being married to him, right? He was so chill and such a good coach when I was playing with him.
Oh, for sure.
He'd be like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Like, I'd be like, oh, shit, I fucked that up. I'm so sorry. And he'd be like, dude, it's tall. No, we'll get it back. Don't even worry about it. Don't even trip. We'll just, we were psyching him out. We made him think that we're shitty bot lane. We're about to come out and crush him. Like, and like, he was just like, so like, he was like, I love playing with Rick because he's like such a, like a coach. He's like, coach, put me in, you know? Okay. But now we're gonna like, so after you hit 3, we're gonna go in really hard, go all in. Even if you die, no problem. I'll get the trade off.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that it's different when he's in the game with you, right? He was just over my shoulder and he had no control. And I think that's why I was stressing him out, was he wasn't actually in the game to be able to do anything about it.
Right.
So I get that. But then I'm like, just play with me. He's like, no. So like, what do you expect me to do? Like, I'll try and I've got the game in one ear. I take my other headphone off so I can listen to him. Like, it's not like I can do a whole lot about it, dude.
That's funny.
I know. Maybe it is part of just being married to him, is he can get stressed out with me and it's not a big deal. Yeah. But yeah, I know. I've been playing all the time. So if you're trying to get back into it.
Honestly, not really.
What have you been playing?
Destiny.
Yeah. How's it been?
The new raid comes out February 22nd, so it's just a lot of raid prep.
Yeah, it's in 5 days. Shoot.
No, not that's January. February 22nd.
Oh, February 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I haven't heard anything about it. Usually for raids, I hear pretty much a lot on social media.
Witch Queen. Yeah, so the last raid I did was November 2020 when I was 9 months pregnant, and I did a 14-hour stream. It was like 16-hour stream or something like that. The raid took us 13 hours to complete.
How did you stay seated for 14 hours?
Bitch, I don't know. I look back at that and I say, I don't know how I did that. I didn't stay seated. We took breaks, and I literally brought a mini fridge into my office, and I had snacks. I had this whole shebang, and we did it. We day one the raid, and it was like such an accomplishment. I felt so baller. Like,
so
it was
proud.
Yeah. And so we have our raid group that we preps for the next one or whatever. So I just want to make sure I'm ready. So I have like, all my stuff. I have all the guns that I need, and I have all the subclasses unlocked.
It's so fun. I want to do that.
It is so fun.
Talking about that makes me really miss Destiny.
It helps when you have like a dedicated group of people to play with. Or the thing about the Destiny community that I've always actually really loved is Destiny as a game makes it really easy for just like anyone to hop in, where it's not this like big commitment where you have to add them to your friends list and all that stuff. You just like / invite, and they can play Crucible, and they can play like, Gambit and stuff with you that doesn't require a microphone either. And so it's nice because I always have someone to play with for the most part, and that's really fun for me, that my chat can like jump in and out. So I've just been enjoying it. I've been getting
that's the best part about those kind of games, is like playing with friends. Like low-key, that's why I pinged that group chat for League, is because if I can't play with friends, like I don't want to play. I'm at that point. Like the reason I'm having so much fun with League is because I'm like interacting with other people, and that's been the hardest part, I think, about the last couple years, is that I don't really have a group of people to stream with as far as like other streamers go, just because like everyone's doing different things and streams at different times, and there's a bunch of reasons for it. But now that I have just like people from the community to play with, it's just so much more fun. Like I don't even care that it's League and it's stupid. Like I just want to fuck around and hang out with people. That's what's fun about video games, and what's fun about streaming for me is like having people to engage with and interact with.
I mean, I do. I love getting really sucked into a game, and I miss like when Sam and I were playing like a specific game, and it's like at the same time every single day, the expectation, like we both wanted to be on and play the game and all that. And like I had that with Benny, and I had that with like a bunch of like people, where it was like I didn't have to ask. It was like we both were gonna show up, and it was gonna be so fun, and we knew that's what we wanted to do, and it was just like a no-brainer. And now, again, my schedule's changed, my community's changed, like a lot of, I'm not consistent. Like, it's not like I'm going to be on at the same time every single day, because like stuff with Cohen changes things and stuff like that. So I don't have that same core group anymore. And a part of me really misses that. But it is nice having a community surrounding like a game where people just hop in chat and are like, hey, do you need a third? I'm totally down to play.
That so much.
So that's nice too.
Yeah, because thinking about that too, like, especially with Counter-Strike, that was my thing with my community, was like, I knew I had a dedicated, probably like 10 people that I always played CSGO with, that I would rotate in and out depending on who was on. Like, I never had a problem finding people to play that game with. And that was so convenient and cool. And I think that's been the hardest part about, and I think it's also been like kind of validated by your experience too, knowing, because I was kind of the first one in the, like, as like female Twitch partners who like had a baby that was a full-time streamer. Like don't get me wrong, there's moms on Twitch, but a lot of them already had kids once they started streaming. Like I didn't know anybody who had gone through like being a full-time, this is my job streamer, and then gotten pregnant and had that baby and continued to keep their career. So I was kind of like fish out of water. I didn't really know if my experience was like, oh, I'm just lazy, I should be able to do more or anything like that. And like after you've gone through that as well, I just relate to so much of that. Like everything you just said, I'm like, okay, that happened to me too. So I know that that's normal. It's a normal part of having kids take over your life and other responsibilities and things that, you can't just sit down for 8 to 10 hours and stream anymore like we used to, and streaming at different hours of the day. And you lose a lot of the things that were nice about having those, like a consistent community and people you knew you could count on to play games with, and like the consistency to sit down and know you would come back to another game the next day or the day after. And it's very validating knowing it wasn't just me.
Brennan goes, Sturf and I can't play competitive games together because it never works. And the funny thing is, I feel like you take it seriously too. The issue with me and Brennan when we would try and stream games is I'm competitive to the point where streaming is kind of second and the game is kind of first for me. Like when I'm in the game, I'm in it to win it. I want to fucking try. I want to try hard, and I want to do my best no matter the game for the most part. Brennan, especially when we first started dating, he would play games for content's sake. So he'd be the one that, like, even though we were on a time trial trying to get through this part of the whatever and make it on, he would purposely drive off the course and, like, flip his car 18,000 times and, like laugh like an insane clown because, like, that was content and it was funny, but it fucked up our thing and we had to do it again. And
over again.
Oh my God, it would fucking piss me off so much. Like, I remember we were playing, like, what's that game called? The surgeon game, Surgeon Simulator or whatever. The, like,
oh, I know what you're talking about.
yeah, right? It's a stupid fucking dumbass game, right? But, like, I'm trying to solve the puzzles. Like, I want to solve the puzzles and I want to do the thing. And he's over there, like flinging livers around and, like, chopping heads off. And I'm like, I can't do this.
You know what would be a fun game for you and I to play together?
What?
Would be Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
I haven't played that in so long. I, like, barely remember how to play it.
You and I would kill that game.
It's like one person has, like, the rule book and the other person has, like,
has to defuse the bomb,
like, complete the task. Yeah,
that would be so fun. I think Rick and I never did that. We were going to, and then I don't, for whatever reason, he wasn't into it. Oh my God, that would be so much fun for you and I to play together.
Did you ever play?
We're both smart, so we would get it.
I missed the whole Among Us boat too. That was, I never played. I haven't played a single game of Among Us.
I haven't played Among Us. You've never played Among Us? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, ever.
What? That's like me with Fortnite, though. I missed the entire Fortnite boat. Everyone was playing it, and I was at home with a newborn. Like, completely missed it. Thank you again for validating me.
Yeah, I was so frustrated, Charlie.
Me?
I just wanted to play a fucking game. I want to play the game. And Brennan's off doing, like, garbage bullshit. And I just was like, I can't handle this. And same thing with, like, even, like, comp games, like, when we play, like, Warzone and stuff together. Brennan is off fucking trying to, like, get the 1v4 content clip. And his team's fucking dying off in a completely different part of the map. And he goes down and goes, where's my res? Where's my res? Where's my res? I just...
You know what I'll say is that one thing I've noticed about, like, my relationship with streaming over the last few months, really, and a big portion of this is thanks to FanHouse, because of FanHouse, I'm not nearly as dependent on my income from Twitch. But because of that, I am so less stressed about, like, what my numbers look like and who's watching and if my content is enjoyable. And I'm way more focused on having fun. Like, I'm enjoying streaming now more than I have in I don't know how long, because I'm just doing whatever I feel like doing, and I'm playing with friends, and I'm not looking at my viewer count, and I'm not looking at sub numbers, and, like, I've completely just, like, let all that go. And I cannot tell you how much more enjoyable it is to hit start stream now, because I just don't care. I'm like, what do I feel like doing today? Like, what's everyone up to? When, you know what, whoever shows up, and I'm gonna hang out with them, and it's gonna be a great time. And it's truly so much easier for me to not, like, we talked about anxiety earlier. My anxiety was very directly related, a lot of it, to my stream numbers. Yeah. And now that I've let that go, it's like
I still have a hard time with it, but I have let it go a lot. Like, I still have moments where I'm like, fuck. Like, I get my Twitch paycheck and I'm like, well,
it hurts.
This is not where I was.
We got paid the other day, and I had my lowest paycheck I think I've had since I got partnered on Twitch. Yeah. And it's like, it hurts. Yep. But at the same time, like, it feels better. And that's why I mentioned FanHouse, is like, because that's taken up a much better part of my income, I feel so much less stressed about streaming and content creation. And I can spend much more time making content that I enjoy and not worrying about if it's going to get people to subscribe or people to donate or people to watch.
Surprised, but I feel my numbers have been really good lately on Destiny. Destiny's like a really weird, small, niche-y community where there's only like one big streamer playing it ever at a time. So, like, everyone else is around my size, and so, you know, all it takes is for that person to go offline and then them to go look in the directory. And I just have a lot of new faces come through, a lot of people who like to play games with me. And so my numbers have actually been, like, pretty good lately for where I've been in the last, like, year. So
and that's the hard thing too, is to not compare those numbers to, what your numbers are now.
Yeah,
because it's just it's a completely different situation.
Me streaming for 3 to 4 hours a day is never going to be the same as me streaming for 9 to 12 hours a day every single day, 7 days a week consistently with a group of people that I could rely on and making content and other stuff. Like it's just never going to be that again. But if I can pull 250 viewers playing Destiny while I'm just like chilling for like my morning coffee for like 3 to 4 hours in the morning every day.
That's a nice stream. I'd feel really good about that.
I'm happy with that. That is okay. I am excited for the point where like Cohen goes to daycare and I am able to be a little more consistent with my hours so I can get my sub count back up, because this is still my main source of income. So like I do want to work on that number at some point, but just like, you know, for a long time was really fearful that I was killing my channel and by being a mom, and you know, it's declined for sure, but I have not killed it, and it, you know, just takes a little more time.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like I how old is Hazel now? 3.5. Like I stopped that dedicated 8+ hour stream time when I was like 6 months pregnant with her. So it's been 4 years since then. Yeah. And this is still a huge, it may not be like my main portion of my income right now, but that's a very recent change. And that's because I have a second kid. Right. Like for right now, like you and Brennan luckily have the ability to be able to split it. So that way you work part of the day and he works part of the day. And Rick and I don't have that ability. Yeah. So you actually have a lot more in your corner than I have. And I'm still here, still alive, different times, different amounts of times and different content. But like you and I both are very lucky in the sense that we have loyal communities who understand where we're at our lives,
for sure,
and are willing to just be here whenever they have the opportunity to be. And I think I think we're lucky to have that, because not everybody does.
For sure. Yeah. But it is.
You gotta go though, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I will say though, it is kind of hard for me. It's like, I think the hardest pill to swallow is like, not, how do I phrase this? It's like seeing people that were where I was when I stopped where I was full time, and like the amount of growth they experienced, and to feel like not a little like pang of like, oh, like if I had just kept going.
But it's different. Like growing on Twitch, I had this talk with Vern. Vern and I went to dinner the other night, and we were talking about it just in general, like what streaming is like right now and the state of Twitch right now. And I don't know about you, but this stream in particular, I've gotten more new follows than I have in a very long time. And I'm just used to understanding that when I hit live right now, no matter what it is I'm streaming, there's not going to be a whole lot of new faces. And that's really shitty, actually. Like it's really hard to get new people into your community, into your chat, when, for one thing, Twitch does not do a great job of promoting streams to new viewers, but also with the saturation that there already is on Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, and luckily, like even with the numbers that you and I do get, it does bump our channel up somewhat versus, you know, having none. But the fact that the main way that people find new content is by going to click a game and seeing whoever's at the top of that game will always make it harder to get new people into medium-sized channels. It just will.
For sure.
And that sucks. So
I think that's why
that's another thing to accept, where I'm like, I know that if no matter how long I stream, the idea of me exploding and having thousands of viewers is just, it's just not realistic, purely because of the stance of Twitch.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Not necessarily. I think there's still opportunities. It's just infinitely harder, right? Like just chatting, you're never going to be a breakout. I'm sorry. It's just like, unless you're doing like really like over the top stuff to get people, if it's just you as another person chatting alongside other people that are just chatting, it's really hard to like define yourself and be different and like find exposure. Same thing with all the popular games. Like Vern plays a lot of League. Well, there's like 1,000,000,001 League streamers, and League is such a skill-based game that unless you're a Diamond Masters player, if you're like in the middle of the bunch with all the other plat players, like it's really hard to just like get noticed, you know?
Unless you're doing something completely ridiculous.
Unless you have a shtick, right? That's like, you know, the different draw and not necessarily the game. Which is why I really do like Destiny as a whole. For me, right now in this moment, it's like exactly what I need from it, is because it's always going to be a popular game in the sense that like got a very established community, and a lot of people come and go from Destiny. It's not a game that like people just like play constantly and never stop. People come and go with like the new expansions and the new content. Oh my god, there's a raid coming out. So all of a sudden in January and February, we're gonna see a huge influx in people like being interested in Destiny again because there's this new content drop, this big raid coming out and stuff like that. So like I said earlier, like there's only ever one big like 3,000 viewer streamer playing Destiny, and the rest of the people are like between 5 and 200. So you have this like ability to be kind of not as like lost in the sea of things. And then when those people come and go, people are, I feel, generally speaking, more fluid and looking for other channels. And because of like the drop in and drop out capacity, like there's always people that are like willing to play with streamers. They go into streams and see if they need one or an extra person or an extra body. So it's just been like a really fun community centric game that's really like helped me appreciate like where I'm at and playing this game and
you
stuff
enjoy
like that.
it.
I do.
Like, that's the best thing too, is when you're doing something that you actually have a lot of fun doing.
But again, if I was like playing Warzone and there's like literally a bajillion people playing Warzone right now, like it's just it's not the same, you know.
It's not. And you know what's funny is that like I'm looking at my chat, and one of my mods, she says how social media seems like the best way to grow, and that honestly is such a good point. Like that, right when she said that, I had this moment where the last show that we did, I can't remember what we talked about, but there was a moment where we both said something stupid and ridiculous, and I was like, I'm gonna clip that, and that's gonna be how I advertise for people to watch our show. Like I should have done that. I should go back and find the VOD and clip that moment and put it on Twitter, because those things are how you
not
see
even
Twitter
right now the highest room for growth, the fastest
TikTok
is TikTok, 100%. To leverage
100%.
TikTok successfully and promote your other channels and lead them back to Twitch, it's huge. Like it's actually.
But see, the thing, TikTok is so weird though. Like, it truly depends on the content you make, and I think I'm one of those people. Like I'm kind of the black sheep in the sense that like my content is not the same across the board. If you go to my Twitter, but then you go to my Instagram, it's, well, as of the last week, it's very similar because all I've been talking about is Rick and having COVID. But generally speaking, like there's a lot more of my Twitch and gaming and streaming content on Twitter, and I have none of that on Instagram. None. It's all family, it's all Hazel, it's all Hun, it's all Rick. Like that's what my Instagram content is. And TikTok, the only reason I even have a following whatsoever on TikTok is because we went viral. That's the only reason. And so with TikTok, the algorithm, the way it works is if you try and post, like for me, if I tried to post a gaming video on TikTok, I would be very surprised. I would be very shocked, I think, if a clip of me playing a game went viral on TikTok, just purely because like that's not why people follow my account. And the way the algorithm works is if enough people watch it in a certain period of time, then they'll start pushing it out to other people.
Sure.
And so if people see that and they're like, I'm not interested in this, and keep swiping, it's not going to get pushed out.
Right.
So,
but
like,
if you can get, if
me.
you can, the point is if you know, keep throwing spaghetti at the wall or whatever, and you can get your TikTok to push to the gaming algorithm, and all of a sudden you're on the For You pages of the people who follow gaming content, they are going to follow through like 85% of the time to actually go to your stream to
you're
watch
right.
your content there. So,
and the reason I can completely attest to that is there was one video that I put on TikTok, and it was, sorry, I didn't realize that Hunt's window's open and it's bright as day in his room. Rick forgot to close the window. It was a video of Rick talking about how he's League of Legends god. And I started it by saying, this is how I know my husband will never cheat on me. And that video, I tagged League of Legends in the video, and it did end up getting pushed to the League community because all the people commenting were like, oh, have him carry me to Diamond, like stupid shit like that.
Right.
So it's possible. You're right. Yeah. It's just about like, I think the reason that I got that segue into it and that reason, or that video popped off, was because it was a video about me and Rick, which is what people love on my TikTok. So it's about figuring out a way to do it. But you're right. Like there's no easier and faster way to grow than to look at Charlie. Charlie was just talking about how her videos or her sales have like gone up 5 times since she started her TikTok account.
That's crazy. Like, the amount of
like
leverage.
Amazing.
Yeah. The business major in me, my degree is like slapping me in the face. I just don't care for it. I can't. It takes too much mental, it's too taxing for me to care enough about social media right now. I just don't care. I don't want to be scrutinized. I don't want to deal with the negative side of it. So the positive just doesn't wait out. That doesn't wait. And it takes so much effort. I don't want to, some days I just don't even shower. I'm at that point in my life, you know, like I just, to be able to like shower and put myself together to the point where I feel comfortable posting a picture on the internet. And then, you know, it's just a lot of work. And
I know. And not even pictures. The problem is that it's video content now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not as easy as just like posing for a picture and having one you like and making that go live. It's like Instagram, especially, is just pushing reels.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing is just constant. Like, if you post a reel, it'll likely get a lot of views.
Like,
if
Callie does so many reels, dog. And I'm like,
oh my God. It's so much work.
Where do you have time? Even like,
I don't know.
They seem so simple, right? It's just like opening a book and doing a mouth over. But like, fuck that. You have to do it like 17 times until you get the right
take.
one.
Oh, forget even editing a video that I did. So I did a video at the end of the year, and it was a 9-second video, and it was just clips of like my family throughout the year. That took me like an hour and a half to get the timing exactly right to line up with the audio. And it's like the amount, and not only that, but if you do post static pictures on Instagram, forget it. Like my likes used to be close to like, or just engagement. I would get at least 1,000 likes on pretty much every photo I posted. Now I'm lucky if I get 500-600, just because Instagram's not pushing static content anymore.
Yeah.
But if I post a reel, typically it'll get like 10,000 views, if not more. So it's just the name of social media, like the entire game is changing, and it's because of TikTok.
It just takes so much work. I just
It's
don't
so much
have,
more
I
work.
don't have the ability right now. I don't have the
know.
joy. I don't have the passion. I used to love fucking making content for social media. Now it is you have to twist my arm. I dread it. I literally dread it. I hate it. And then,
Well,
you know.
So Sobs in my chat goes, such a rough life being an influencer, XD. But it's like, if it's the same thing, if you don't enjoy doing something, no matter what it is, like just because it's not something that you think is difficult doesn't mean that it's not difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's, to invalidate that experience is
because
bullshit.
because the other side of it is you're not acknowledging the fucking bullshit that you want to be a woman who posts a picture and you feel like, oh wow, I looked really cute in this photo, and then you have 10,000 men telling you how like a big of a slut and a piece of shit you are. Like that shit's taxing. Like you can fucking talk shit up to my face all you want about how difficult it is to be a social media, but you know what, fuck you, because you don't deal with that side of it, and it is fucking difficult. It's hard. I literally had one of my mods go through and ban 3 people today, and like I'm reading the ban messages, and it's like posted like taking thirst clips every time you stand up, labeling your titty cleavage and all the clips and shit like that. Like it's just, I don't want to deal with that shit, and I shouldn't have to, but the reality is I do, and that's part of the job. So if you don't want to call it a job, then I don't like I don't have any capacity other than roll my eyes at you, because clearly like you think we're just so privileged, and we are in a lot of ways, but there's always going to be a pro and a con to things, and having your entire life revolve around people's opinions about you and whether or not they support you based on your appearance and whether or not you live up to some expectation that they hold of you is fucking hard. It's mentally taxing, and it's a hard standard to follow every single day. So
yeah, 100%. And it's one of those things that you just don't understand it until you experience it.
Absolutely.
Like it's easy to complain about all the stuff that comes with being a woman on the internet, but until you put yourself out there and experience that backlash, I know.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about social media in general, like period, is like the highs are so high and the lows are so low, right?
Low.
Like it's really easy to get sucked into it, because all of a sudden, you know, you used to get 5 views on a video, and now you're getting 500. All of a sudden you're getting 15,000, and that gratification and that like the like feedback loop. You're like, oh my God, it's doing so good. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I feel so validated. And then all it takes is for one video, you look kind of like shit in it, and for every single fucking person to comment about how your hair looks so fucking shitty in this video, for you to go like, why did I make this, and why do I want to continue doing this?
Yep, the internet is brutal.
Yeah.
It's a brutal place to be sometimes, and sometimes it's an awesome place to be. And like the highs that you're talking about, it's so funny because like when our video went viral, like for those of you who don't know, actually we're coming up on a year on Valentine's Day. I posted a video of when I told Rick that I was pregnant with my son. And it went like real viral. It was like on the Today Show. It was on like Inside Edition. It was like real viral. And it was like, you know, it's like 15 minutes of fame or whatever, right?
Right.
But it was still like, I've got the Today Show in my email. I've got like all these people who are reaching out to me wanting to license the video and like have me on their talk shows and have me interview. Like we interviewed for a show in Germany, like just crazy stuff. And it's like all these chemicals going on in your brain of validation. Like people like me, people want to know more, and trying to seize the moment for people who follow and that kind of stuff. And then afterward, as like the high comes down and people have seen the video and it's not as prominent as it was, it's like an adrenaline crash.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, now I have to live up to all this content, right? Like I have to keep doing it.
There's this expectation,
but nothing goes off
you.
like that ever again. And then you just constantly are trying to get back to that. It's like I don't even know, like a high. It's very weird. Sorry, my camera just fell.
Yeah. Brennan says, dance monkey dance, you're my entertainment puppet. The entitlement from some viewers is what bothers me more than anything over the years. You aren't a human to some, you're just literally a jester. And that's the thing. It's like, right, they consume your content, right? Like, okay, so let's pick a Joe Blow. He gets 20,000 viewers a day, right? He's huge, big streamer. All social medias pop off, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, wow, this guy's so privileged, right? He doesn't have he has no legs to stand on to ever complain about his life. He's raking in the dollars. He's so famous. People love him. People suck his dick and want to play games with him, want to give him all this free stuff. Everyone wants to work with him. Like, he's got it made, right? His life is awesome. And yes, absolutely, his life is fucking awesome. But on the fact that people never acknowledge the flip side, they just point their fingers and go, because your life's so great, like you have no room to complain for anything. You're not there's no humanity with you. You're not allowed bad days because you make $1 million off the backs of our hardworking shoulders. You're not allowed to have a bad day. You're not allowed to complain about things. Heaven forbid someone says something fucked up to you. You're not allowed to complain about it. You're not allowed to make that. Every time people say in chat, don't acknowledge them, Steph. You're just giving them what they want. Like, you're not allowed to have things get under your skin because you're human. You're not allowed to feel emotions about things and to like be burnt out on your job where you're entertaining 20,000 people a day and every single opinion is slapped into your face, good, bad, or in between. You know what I mean? It's just frustrating to me that it's like so black and white for some people that it's like you are a content creator, and because I am not successful as a content creator, you have this cushy life where like you just make money for being you. Like, you're not allowed to ever be ungrateful or feel fucking anything but extreme happiness in the situation that you're in. And I find that to be so disconcerting. Like, it bothers me so much because, you know, I've lived it. You know, we have fucking bad days. And just because I made $1,000 doing like something doesn't mean I'm not allowed to have a bad day. Like, money and success is not the definition of life, you know? And it's just, I've always really struggled with that, especially because this wasn't my career for a long time. And so I know what it's like to have a 9-to-5 job and watch someone else be the creator and hire those people for like absurd amounts of money and be like, oh my God, these people like fucking don't do anything. They just show up and say a couple things in a microphone and click a button. And then, you know, they just made 10 grand. Like, that's crazy to me. And then I did it on the other side. It's not that. You're leveraging so much as a 24-hour job. The only reason that person was able to make $10,000 showing up and saying 2 things is because, you know, their social media pops off and they have all this presence, all these other places that they worked hard and put effort into and created. It's just, the invalidation is really hard for me.
Yes. That's the word I was going to use. Yeah. And it especially when you see people like celebrities, like Robin Williams, he's a perfect example. Like, oh, you're not allowed to be depressed because you have money, because you're famous, because you don't have the same stressors that other people have. Like, it's just because some people have it easier in some respects doesn't invalidate like the way that they anticipate, just in general, the way that they live, right, and the experiences that they have and the emotions that they have and the way certain things affect them. And it's like, yeah, they may be privileged to not have to worry about a 9-to-5 job or to make X amount of money doing this, but you don't have to deal with having people constantly call you a whore, call you a slut, or tell you this and tell you that, and shame you or call you ugly, or clip your boobs and put it on weird Reddit threads. Like you don't have to deal with that.
Or deal with like not having job stability, where like 2 months from now your numbers could plummet and all of a sudden the paycheck you're making is not the same paycheck because you're not salary. Or having to pay for health insurance because we don't work for a company, so we have to pay out of pocket the absolute absurd premiums to even have health insurance in this country. So yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, but when you look at something so one-dimensionally and you think that just because you're a viewer and you consume our content, that you know what it's like to be in our shoes, is fucking annoying. I find it so obscene.
Yep, I completely agree. And the nice thing is that hopefully the more that we talk about things like this on here, then other people who have that perspective will, I don't know, maybe have a change of heart.
I doubt it.
See it from the other side.
But
you don't think so?
No, I don't. Because that's not where they're here. That's not why they're here. They, for whatever reason, find joy in being a troll on the internet. So what I have come to realize is that it is my responsibility to myself to just get rid of that shit, right? So, I've had these talks with many streamers before. Like, a lot of the people that I saw in similar positions as me that ended up being far more successful than I ever have is because they deal with the trolls. They allow the trolling to happen, and they have whatever, the tough skin, and they have the mentality or the ability to just roll with it. And now are having a really hard time with it. Yeah. But they've grown off the success of it, right? And I just don't, ban.
It's a mental game.
You come into my chat and you call me a bitch, or you comment on my tits, or you fucking say something really fucking rude, you're banned. There, you don't even get an explanation. I don't even acknowledge it. I read the comment and I ban you. You're banned. That's it. Yeah. That's the rope that you get. You come into a stranger who you don't know and you make a comment about their appearance or their personality or whatever. All you have to do is come into my stream and go, she's fucking annoying. I hate her voice and she looks like a cow. And you go, okay, well, I'm moving on. I'm going to go find someone that doesn't look like a cow that, to me, I find looks gorgeous and beautiful, who has amazing voice and talks about things I want. Go fucking find that person. Yeah. I don't need to cater to you. I don't give a fuck if you think my voice is annoying or that I look like a cow, but you don't need to, you can be a decent person and not throw it in my face. You don't have to bring me down and make me feel less of what I am because you have an opinion on it. Just have that opinion and move on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, and I just don't understand people who get off by making other people feel bad. Like, that's just never been who I am. Like, I don't relate to that. I don't get why that makes them feel higher and better than other people to behave that way or to treat others that way. And I feel bad for those kind of people that they need to shit on others in order to feel good about themselves. I think they're clearly lacking in their lives.
I think it's become a cultural thing, though, sadly. On the internet, I think it's the whole it's just a joke, bro. It's just a meme. Lol, take a joke. It's that mentality has been grown exponentially into this trollhood where it should just be, where it somehow becomes socially acceptable on the internet to wrap in being mean and a bully as, oh, I'm just trolling you, though. You know what I mean? Don't be so sensitive.
I won't name names, but there are certain personalities on Twitch who
embody
that mentality and run their streams that way that I truly cannot understand why people engage with them, why they watch their channel. I see it I have them muted. I can't watch it. It's just too much for me. I just can't. But they thrive. They don't just succeed. They thrive.
Yeah, because it's not about necessarily making that person feel bad. It's about rendering a reaction and then getting fucking karma and plus ones and meme points and all this stuff.
Yeah, because they get their attention on Reddit.
For eliciting. It's not the act of being mean. It's not the whatever. It's the reward for eliciting the reaction. You were the one to get the rise. You get the fame and starhood and credit. You know what I mean? It's it's just... Yeah.
I'll never understand internet points. I just don't care. I don't care about getting upvoted on Reddit. It's not my thing.
But I guarantee that these people don't have, maybe not guarantee, but I feel like it is a safe bet to say that most of these people don't have the balls to walk up to a stranger in a grocery store and say
it to their face.
You are fucking ugly and I hate your voice, right? It's just,
Yeah.
There's something about being anonymous on the internet and just being a fucking like a bunch of characters in a chat room that gives people the courage to be an asshole. So
100%. Yeah, you and I would pay a lot of money in a bet to say that people would not go up to your face and say those things that they say on the internet.
Right.
It's just different. It's different when they can hide behind a keyboard, right?
bullies.
That's
Bullies.
right, that's all it is.
All right, I do
No
have
one
to go
likes a
though
bully.
because
Okay.
we went over, but that's okay. We always
By a
get,
lot.
I always get so caught up in our conversations because they're so fun.
made it.
So
That's why we do this.
I know.
I love it. Well, I love you.
Bullies. I love you too.
I'm glad we did this.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, chat. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. I'm going to stay on because I have nothing better to do in quarantine.
Haley's gonna play League, so if you guys want to watch Haley bot lane,
Play League.
some Jinx.
Probably feed. It'll be great.
Yeah.
And hey, if you guys don't already, I know we've got a lot of new faces here today, so thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow Steph over at FemSteph. We are currently in a squad stream, so you can go click her channel and hit follow. If you're new here, I would love to
Hey
follow it as
Megan,
well.
happy 67 months.
We try
Welcome
and
back.
do these on Mondays. Like I said, a goal for me personally is I'd like to do these more consistently. So yeah, follow if you want to see more. I'm gonna go try and find that clip that I talked to you about,
Okay.
that from the last one, and we'll post it on Twitter.
All right. I love you.
All right, boo. I love you too.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.